Hi, I'm Tim McDermott from OSU Extension. We've crossed the river over to main campus. We're in Howlett Greenhouse, and we are going to be talking poinsettias on Extension Today.
Extension Today is sponsored by the Ohio State University College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences.
I'm here with my good buddy, Dr. Wendy Klooster from the Department of Horticulture and Crop Science, and we are going to be talking about poinsettias. These are so interesting, Wendy. How do you get them to look like this?
Well, Tim, these started out as little cuttings that were just one stalk, and they were planted into a container. Normally, they're going to grow just tall. But in order to get them full, especially like this example here, you want to pinch the top of it so that stimulates more lateral growth so that you don't just get one leggy stalk.
So Wendy, tell me about the colors. A lot of people think that these red petals are actually the flower, but that's not actually the case.
You're exactly right, Tim. So these petals, or what look like petals, are actually called bracts. And these are just modified leaves, and these will all turn this white in this case, or the red in this case. The red is the classic color that was the original form. And now, of course, we have these white ones, and we have these that are really more of a bright, brilliant white, but some do come in more of a creamy white as well. And then you get into all of the really exotic looking ones that have marbling or some variation on the bract formation, the bract color. So we have some really pink ones. We have some that are like burgundy and white marbling on the leaves. But like you said, these are not the actual flowers. The flowers themselves are in this central part. They're these inconspicuous little kind of nubs at the top of the poinsettia, and then these are the showy bracts.
So Wendy, I'm at the store, maybe the nursery or the greenhouse. What do I look for in order to make sure that I'm picking the perfect poinsettia?
To be honest, a little bit is driven by personal preference. So you could choose more of a compact variety, and this one has been pinched to stimulate those lateral shoot growth. But you can also find ones that are a little bit taller that maybe have a little bit more of a dramatic upper bract arrangement. And if you want, you can kind of group some together for a little bit more of a showy feature. Or if you want to do like a little bit of a side table or kind of centerpiece style, you could do a little bit more of a compact one. So this is an example that had been pinched as well as treated with a growth regulator to keep it smaller and more compact. If you do see ones that are sparkly and glittery, that's not natural. That's been applied at the garden center where they're producing them. But it's just personal preference if that's your style.
All right, Wendy, I'm telling you, this one is my favorite. So when I get this one home, do I have any special care instructions, any tips or tricks I need to follow to make sure that I keep it healthy through the holidays?
So you want to keep the temperature between about 65 and 75 degrees and avoid any drafts. So you don't want to set it right next to a window where the foliage is going to be touching a cold window pane. You don't want to be setting it right next to a heat vent or anything like that where it's going to have some airflow. And you'll want to keep the soil moist but not soggy. So if you pick it up and it feels really light, that's an indication that it needs some water. So what I would do is I would take it out of its foil wrapper that many of them come in and put it in a sink and water it until it starts to drain through, and then let it drain out until the water is not actively pouring out the bottom, and then put it back in that foil wrapper.
I know you have an opportunity coming up where Central Ohio residents can come and purchase some of these poinsettias to benefit a student organization.
Absolutely. So the Pi Alpha Xi Student Horticultural Honorary Society is a group of students that are pursuing careers in horticulture, and every year, the Wednesday and Thursday after Thanksgiving, they host an annual poinsettia sale where they're selling these poinsettias to raise money for their professional development opportunities.
Wendy, this is awesome information. Thank you so much. You can tell the students, this one's coming home with me. I'd like to thank my guest, Dr. Wendy Klooster, Assistant Professor in the Department of Horticulture and Crop Sciences. For more information on how you can get your own poinsettia for the holidays, head to go.osu.edu/Extension Today.
Extension Today is sponsored by the Ohio State University College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences.